Hi, this is Pooja Solanki and I welcome you all to Expert Advice. Since you spoke about the smart growth that we need to incorporate, now we are also talking about smart cities so much these days. So tell me, will smart cities be also climate resilient? What is the relation between a smart city and a climate resilient city?
That's a fantastic question. Almost everybody in the world is asking about what smart city is, and especially after our Prime Minister has declared the 100 smart cities. I will like to answer this question in three parts. First, you have to understand what is smart. Now, everybody has their own definition of smart. Smart city, essentially, let us talk from the section of intelligence. An intelligent city, which is first smart communication. Okay, so you're talking about Wi-Fi enabling and so forth. Then you're talking about smart transportation. So you're talking about smart communication, you're talking about smart commuting. So if you can make commuting smart, so it becomes a walk to work, the new urbanization system, where you are not commuting long distance from suburb to the business districts, and even if you are doing them there with communication which are not hierarchic and are energy efficient. So first you are talking about communication, then you are talking about commuting, then you have to talk about construction. The buildings which are being presently designed, there is a huge strain on the natural resources, and the natural resources are finite. We all read sometime or the other, there is sand not available, there is a sand mafia killing the police inspector and so on and so forth. Or you have steel, and we already have seen cement fiascos and scams, as you know. So all these, when you start making smart building components, smart designs, already there is a thought that why do we need to pour concrete and build blocks? Why can't we have building components which can come and like a Lego start setting down? People are working towards them. Lighter materials, more eco-friendly, which is not impacting the environment to a greater extent. Especially, we have got enough waste. There are building materials which are already being manufactured, which is from waste, plastic and Tetra Paks, which is as strong as granite. We have the waste material of fertilizer, is gypsum. So the government of India has come up with options called the GFRG, the gypsum reinforced fiber, which is called a rapid wall. In fact, homes made of that, you will find it in Mumbai. People are not probably knowing about it. Or if you go to Chennai, where the IIT Chennai worked on it, they've built a 5,000 square feet bungalow in 12 days, finished flat. So you could enter the house in just 12 days.
That's really amazing.
That's amazing. So the smart, so as I said, smart construction, that's the third. The fourth that comes is this smart consumption. We do not know when we should limit our consumption and what we should consume. We are usually, not only that, I'm talking about trash food, which all mothers are afraid of, but smart consumption also means if you are having, as I said, again, repeating that, we are having a food scarcity, and food scarcity is going to be a reality because the pressure on the land, the agrarian land is too much. Now you can't keep on growing. If you would know, in the last decade or so, we have cut down more than quarter of the rainforests around the world, and we are still doing so. Then we make them into agricultural land. Then we build over them, calling them non-agricultural land. And what happens to the soil? The soil which we cannot build. So when you do smart consumption, and when I say consumption, you are consuming in the land, right? So why can't you take the footprint of that and put it on the roof? And you can have do terrace farming. Communities can create themselves. Communities can work towards these matters. And this fundamental things is also part of the smartness. But then when you talk about smart cities, people are usually talking about these three things: smart communication, smart transportation, and so on and so forth. But one thing which we all forget is a smart way of thinking, smart conscience. A smart city needs people, everybody who stays there to think of the environment, a smart way of thinking. Whenever we take experts, this is a reality in life. When we talk about designing a project, we talk about, say, making a dam in the Tarai regions of the Himalayas. What do? We talk about bringing in a designer who understands how to build a dam, and somebody who understands cement, somebody who understands structures. But you will never find within them there is an ecologist or there. You will find a lawyer, of course. You will find an MBA guy, but you will never find an ecologist. You will never find somebody who understands, the seismology. These is always in an expert community missing. We have to start bringing people and making them connect to nature and bring those people. For example, today there's a project which I am personally handling in South India, where we are doing a landscape, where first thing I have decided is that let me study the climatic condition of that place, and we are doing entomology. So you see, but when you usually do landscape, you just pave it over and you put some plants which do not belong to that area and you call it landscaping. So these are the baselines which we have to change. Our thinking has to become smarter. That is when we will have a smart city, and that is one of the most important things which we require to look at.
Exactly. I think this was the most important point that you touched. We have seen so many urban landscapes wherein foreign breed plants have been grown, and then it's actually destroying the ecosystem, especially of the place that that belongs to that area, and even the birds and the insects, everyone are just detracting from their own land. Now that was all about it. Now
I would like to add over here to this part, the disconnect from one's culture, I can say, is the root cause of global warming.
Exactly.
Traditionally, it is the city planners or the government or the agencies which have traditionally moved forward and always come to take care of any policy changes. So there has been always
we have heard of so many international organizations who are coming forward to make cities climate resilient. So what are they doing?
Traditionally, it is the city planners or the government or the agencies which have traditionally moved forward and always come to take care of any policy changes. So there has been always those cities and those countries where the policies have taken a turn, which have been doing a good thing. Europe and America, which the first one nations where are the biggest contributor to climate change today, understand that it is impacting them, and the world over there has been some fantastic examples. Let me read over some of the societies which have come in where they are taking care of it. The first one that comes to our mind is Copenhagen, that is Denmark. They have a favorable policy for low emissions and bicycling and all. If you have a low emission, they are looking at giving you tax breaks and so on and so forth. If you know the latest one, they have even built a solar road, 1 kilometer. So there is so much of in there. Then you have Brazil, that is the first rapid bus transport system, which now the whole world is trying to adapt, which even Mumbai is trying to adapt, and Pune is doing it, is another one. Then you have Barcelona. Fantastic, the biggest ones for solar, and especially they're the world leaders in solar power. Then you have Stockholm, which has got a very high political support for transport, that is railways. You stop using your public transports, cars and all, and that is a big drive they are doing. Vancouver in Canada has a goal of the world's greenest city by 2020, and it has a policy of 90% renewable energy portfolio. That's great. Then France has a decent political support for high public transport. They have something called Go Metro. Then you have San Francisco in the USA, and we all know about LEED, Leadership in Environment and Energy Design, the LEED presenter, which is also in India. And most of the LEED buildings you will find in San Francisco. New York has a very strong support from the mayor, for the transit, and then you have London. They had a major problem because of the density, the highly density and congested. Yeah. But then what they did is they started, using that policy of congestion parking. So you don't bring your car. They started discouraging you bringing car. You can put a car, you have to pay for parking to such a place. And that was one thing. Then you got Tokyo. That led to the, again, we all know the high-speed trains. The public transport system is good. What we require are, essentially the pace and scale of investment from the insurers and the behavior change that it requires to ensure that the cities are prepared for future risks cannot just happen from the government side alone. The private parties have to come into, and especially the insurers who understand risk and risk aversions. So we are going towards it, if you know the FDI in insurance and other things. So they will be probably the primary drivers when climate change impacts would be there. And these are the policies which, and the international organizations which have done, which we will be seeing happening in India. In fact, they are, but we have to see them.
Okay, correct. So that reminds me of, of the policy that is coming in many international cities, that is of a city insurance. So, we all know that, climate change is affecting our cities so much. So do you think, even a country like India should have a city insurance, and what could be done in that front?
The impact of disasters are so high. If you would remember Cyclone Hudud. Cyclone Hudud took away $7 billion US. We are still trying to account for the unseasonal rains which took away the agricultural produce this year, early February. Once you bring in insurance, the flip side or the better side of it would be that stringent measures would come before you even achieve those insurance. Again, the subject of green building or energy efficiency and sustainability will come in, because a developer today, say assuming he wants to build a building, and how traditionally developers start doing their basements and go deep underground when there is no rain. Imagine the situation where the developer has gone 3 floors below, put all his cement stock and other things, sand and everything under there, and there is a sudden cloud burst like it happened in February. You are totally inundated. You're finished. So if you are not aware of those scenarios, if you are not aware of those problems, then the insurer will not look at you. So there is a program called CDP, Climate Disclosure Project, Carbon Disclosure Project, which is a small fund of about around 90 trillion US, which actually encourages that everybody. It's not actually an insurance, but it is a way where a methodology which can be utilized to map your carbon emissions, to make yourself more sustainable. And in that process, that when you are doing that triple bottom line, baseline, or you are talking about doing the GRI, that is the footprinting of your carbon, you slowly understand the gaps, and therefore you start insuring yourself against those gaps and bettering yourself. So this is one thing which also should be adapted at or created by the government at our so that it is more widely accepted, because not everything European can be fitted into our scheme of things.
Correct.
We have got 8 national action plans. The National Action Plan for Solar, which is called the Solar Mission, now which has made it more popular. The next one is called the National Action Plan for Enhanced Energy Efficiency. We also have something called the National Action for Sustainable Habitat. Now that is where again the Griha and the lead would actually reach its superlative level. It is not yet
Now let me ask you, what our national, or for that matter local or state governments are doing to make our cities climate resilient?
We have got 8 national action plans. The National Action Plan for Solar, which is called the Solar Mission, now which has made it more popular. The next one is called the National Action Plan for Enhanced Energy Efficiency. We also have something called the National Action for Sustainable Habitat. Now that is where again the Griha and the lead would actually reach its superlative level. It has not yet been there. It is because acceptance and understanding takes time. We are a very, very big country and a lot of people have to be taken into account. But as more and more people in schools and other places, people are getting to understand, and it makes business sense. Do you know the National Sustainable Habitat thing, the green building or the Griha, which has come up, the NAPAC itself, is a 78,000 crore business.
Exactly.
So it makes business sense to become sustainable and energy efficient. So the government, central government came up with this. State governments have started adopting it. Pune, as you would know, the Pimpri Chinchwad area, you cannot build anything but you have to build a Griha compliant building. So various other states are also adopting that. You have the solar mission. Every state has come up with some fantastic solar mission. In fact, right now the rooftop mission is also becoming very, very popular. If you would know, there is something called wheeling, and there, where you can put solar or wind farms at a distance level and use the grid connectivity to power at a cheaper or at least greener, if not necessarily cheaper always, but at a greener level. Another beautiful thing has come is with investors.
Correct.
And in fact, that is where I have some of the investors who back me, where we do buildings. We try and clad the buildings with solar panels on the rooftop at zero capital cost.
Oh, that's amazing.
At zero capital cost to the user. They only have to pay for the electricity bill.
Correct.
But the key part is they have to do a green building.
Exactly.
So these are things where the national level, the state level, and even the private players like the developers, the architects are taking. And slowly, I think it's going on the right direction, but a lot needs to be done.
One last question that I would like to ask you. We have been hearing so much about chief resilience officers. You know, this concept has been internationally popular. It's coming in India too. So my question to you would be, what role exactly these chief resilience officers play in climate resilience of cities?
Very nice question. So the last time, as I talked about something about a CDP, the Carbon Disclosure Project. Similarly, Rockefeller Institute has come up with something for climate resilience cities, and here they have a rule in that of a person who will be actively working with the mayor of the town to see that the sustainable programs, what we are talking about, are being followed. And when you look at sustainable programs, they are not very difficult. You just have to Google Sustainable Development Goals by the United Nations or the Millennium Development Goals of the United Nations, and you will find that the whole thing which I am talking is very simply bulleted out there, which any common man can also understand. And sustainability is all about living a good life. Again, repeating the whole thing. When you look at a climate resilient officer in India, there are two. One is in Bangalore and one is in Chennai. Sadly, Mumbai and Delhi and all are lagging behind Chennai and Bangalore on that matter. But I think there is a lot needs to be done, and this can only happen when people of India understand that climate change is going to impact them to a very great extent. And that if they live sustainably, sustainability is going to overall help in their economic prosperity.
Correct.
Because economic prosperity comes basically when you have a good lifestyle, health, good communication. So your overall everything becomes good.
Correct.
So urban planning, one of the major areas which we need to look at. And with urban planning, what we need to do is we have to connect to our culture. Revival of our culture does not come back because we are at a crossroads where we are confused with our own identity.
Exactly.
We do not know whether we should act as a European or we should act as an Indian.
Exactly.
So when we do understand that we are Indians, and yes, we can still adapt what is good in them, do business with them, but we need not necessarily have to adapt everything which is not climate responsive to our country, especially in the context of urban planning, as I am saying.
Yes, exactly. I think even when we are going the smarter way, we need to stick to our cultural roots and we should ape what is Indian rather than going US or European, as you said. Now, on that note, I'm really grateful to you for coming on our show and giving us such a fruitful information about climate resilience. And as a fact, we did not know how climate change is actually impacting our daily lives, our everyday lives. So I think climate resilience is that one-stop solution, and I think the governments are doing good. Even on a personal level, at an individual level, we need to do something, and we are really grateful to you, to come on our show and guide our viewers about how and what steps they can take for climate resilience. I would like to wind up my today's talk on climate resilient cities. There is more to this topic, but we'll continue that.
There is more to this topic.
Yes, exactly. As Sir mentioned,
what I was talking about is more on a level which is more normal.
Level. Yes, correct.
And it needs to go deeper.
Yes.
Where people can understand how they can achieve it.
Correct. So we'll have Sandeep sir again on our show who will talk in detail about climate resilient cities and what are the aspects related to it. Till we meet next, goodbye and take care.